Welcome to Navigating Love and Immigration. I'm your host, Megan Pastrana. Falling in love is exciting. Maintaining a healthy relationship takes work. And when you're going through an immigration process, you are faced with unique challenges. This podcast is for anyone in a cross-cultural relationship who finds themselves lost in the labyrinth of U.S. immigration. We will interview relationship experts, explore the stories of real couples, and provide important tips on starting the next chapter of your lives together. Welcome, everyone, to this week's episode of Navigating Love and Immigration. I'm so excited because this week we will have our first real-life couple who has gone through their own journey of navigating love and immigration. And I had the amazing pleasure of helping them both with navigating their immigration journey. It's Jorge and Kaylee who are with us today. So thank you both so much for taking time out of your day to be with us and to share your story.
Well, thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
Yeah, and I always like to start, and that's one of my favorite things about being able to work in the field of immigration, specifically with couples, is hearing how couples met. And I love your story. So would one of you be willing to tell us how both of you met, how your journey of love started?
Yeah, so it started through a mutual friend in high school. She went to the exact same university as my wife. It was her freshman year, and they were going through rush week for sororities, and my friend just happened to take a Snapchat of her, and I was like, "Who's that cute girl?" And if I can get her number. So so I texted her, I guess. Now here we are. That's about it.
And that cute girl became your wife, huh?
Oh, yes.
Aw, I love that. And how long have both of you been together? I'm asking the tough questions here today, right? Try to remember that.
8 years.
That's awesome. Yeah, I know. So I tell my husband, it's always like, after a certain point in your relationship, it's like, gosh, we've been together for a long time. How many years is that again?
Yeah, you have to sit and count and try to remember.
Aw. And for your immigration journey, would you kind of take us back to the start of that? How did that start? How did your immigration journey start? And how did it feel?
So it started in
2018.
Oh, 2018, yes. Sorry. This is when Trump was in office and was trying to do a lot away with DACA, because I'm a DACA recipient. And then me and my wife sat down actually when he got elected, right?
We got engaged.
Oh,
and then
okay.
we went and talked to the lawyer to see if we should get married like civilly first, so that way we could start the process. And then, because we were still planning a wedding. So that's what we decided to do, that route.
Yep. Mm-hmm. So it was kind of a decision made on, obviously, political. There's a lot of political aspects to it as well. So
yeah, with you being a dreamer, yeah, and I I remember that time when there was just so much, and it still is. There's still so much uncertainty for dreamers and the DACA program. And so just to kind of put things in context for maybe individuals who aren't aware of all of that aren't aware of having a DACA status or dreamers, that kind of really kind of was like whiplash, probably. You had the status, you had your work authorization, you were able to kind of live your day to day. And then there was just all of a sudden this uncertainty if that would be taken away. And it sounds like you said you were both already in the process of planning a wedding, but it kind of catapulted that actual wedding day or that ceremony and made it go a little bit quicker then. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, we got married a month later, or about a month later. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we got engaged in September, and then we got married
in November.
So 2 months, about 2 months.
Yeah. So. How did that feel for both of you? That uncertainty that you were kind of already in the middle of planning a wedding and being able to start this next chapter, and then that fear of having that DACA status maybe taken away and your whole life being upended. How did that feel for both of you?
Well, I explained it to her. So to be honest with you, I kind of kept it from her for a while as like I feel like as a DOS, being under DACA, you're you're grateful for what you have, but at the same time, you're kind of ashamed a little bit, and you don't want to tell people.
Hmm.
It's weird to say that, but I didn't let her know
Trump got elected in
until yep,
2016. So I knew like before we got engaged. Like it wasn't just sprung on me after we got
yep,
engaged.
yep. So then I told her, I was kind of honest with her about the whole situation and what could happen. Um,
Hmm.
what his plans were versus and what could happen to me. So that's kind of what just
And I think like to answer the question that you had asked, like how we felt when we got engaged that we had to get married soon. Like we just knew it was something that had to be done. Like we were still gonna have our wedding. Like we were still planning our wedding, but we were just gonna get married legally ahead of time. Because I mean that's just something we didn't even think twice about it. They told us that we had to do it, so we started deciding when we were going to do it. We still did it on the day that we wanted to have our wedding originally the next year, so we just didn't think twice about it.
Yeah. Yeah. Because that's the thing that you both knew. You both knew that you wanted to be together forever. It just
Yeah,
moved up your timeline a little bit.
yeah.
But still, it probably felt overwhelming. And so I know you mentioned you went to another lawyer and kind of got started on that on a process. So can you tell us a little bit about when you were getting started at the beginning of your immigration journey? How did just knowing you're going to have to navigate an immigration process, what were you thinking? Like, what were your thoughts at that time? Again, that question of like, how did you feel?
I was nerve wracking, I guess. There's a lot of people that were trying to do it at the same time as well as we knew, well, we didn't really know. They kind of explained it to us, the process, and made it seem very simple.
It was very overwhelming.
Yeah.
For me, it was overwhelming because I mean, he had gone through getting his DACA before, right? But as like the support person, like for him, like to help him through his journey, it was a very different perspective for me, I guess, because I had never really learned about immigration and how people become citizens and how they get their I didn't know any of that, so it was very overwhelming for me.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, because I know, and that's not uncommon for people to not be aware of what an immigration process looks like unless you've gone to law school or you are an immigration attorney. And I think Hollywood and a lot of TV shows show immigration, and it just seems like this really quick thing, like, oh, you marry a citizen, and no, it's really easy. You just file some things, and ta-da, you're done. But it's not really quite that way, is it? uh,
No, no.
So tell us, what was kind of one of the most surprising things to you in the immigration journey? I know there was a lot of things that are surprising, but what is like something that was like the most surprising for you?
How long it took, just how long it took. Yeah, it's about it. I've had um, other family members have gone through a process, and they're like, "Oh, it won't take that long," but it took a while, and then COVID happened, and that just made it even worse. So yeah, how long it takes.
But I mean, part of the reason why it took so long is because our lawyer, we had gotten everything filed and they stopped returning our phone calls and we couldn't get a hold of them. And then finally, 3 years later, they called and was like, "Do you want to continue the process?" We're like, "We already have a new lawyer and we already have an interview scheduled, so no."
Hmm. Yeah, again, I remember when you both came to our office and when we met and talked about your situation, and I know there were a lot of things that were happening on your journey, and that was really hard for both of you to have to you had to adjust a lot during your process. So tell us about some of those adjustments that you had to make. I mean, to the extent that you're comfortable sharing, just all of it with COVID and all of the things that happened. It was, again, like I said, like whiplash. So would you be willing to tell us a little bit about some of those adjustments or how it felt to have to go through it?
I think the first thing obviously was the lawyer, and it was very frustrating. That's like one thing that we tell anybody that we know that's going to be going through this, or we tell them pick like a good lawyer, somebody who like is going to be, you know, open and honest with you, one, from the front, like the beginning, and have good communication with you. So you know, always know what's going on. Like, because communication, I feel like, is the biggest thing, because there's so many different things like they'll tell you that you need, right? Like you need additional evidence, you need this and that. And if the lawyer's not getting back with you on that, that, you know, elongates the process anyway. So that was stressful for us. And then COVID happened and everything was shut down and processes were being longer for stuff to get approved. And like, you don't know how long, you know, it was so much uncertainty in the beginning of COVID that we didn't know how long everything was going to be shut down for. So that was a big thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was just COVID. It was the biggest one. It's just
I think a lot of people had to deal with that too.
Yeah. And I know even before COVID, you know, there were starting to be issues with immigration wait times. And then COVID happened and it just made it even worse and even longer. And I know both of you had to go through that rodeo of not only about the potential end of the DACA program and then how that would impact your relationship. And then COVID happened and then there were some other changes and we kept having to, adjust course. So for couples who are just starting out on their immigration journey, or maybe they're already in the middle of their immigration journey, what would each of you say is the most important piece of advice that you would give to couples about specifically? I think if you wouldn't mind, I think mindset helps, and I know you've kind of already talked about that. But what would kind of be that piece of advice that you'd give to couples at the start of their immigration journey?
Be open, be flexible, and be patient, because it's a very long ride.
Mm-hmm.
Just be patient.
Yeah.
It will come. You might think it won't come, but it will come.
I remember like checking the USCIS like constantly, and then finally like we got the alert that the interview had been scheduled, and it was, I don't know, it was such a like happy moment. But then you realize you still have a lot to do. There's still a lot to go through.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, being patient and having optimism and grace and everything for the system and the process you're going through is key. And I would say both of you did a phenomenal job with just your patience, and you just showed up to everything that happened with so much calm and patience. And I think personally, I'll let you both speak to that, but I think that probably was extremely helpful for your relationship and has probably made your relationship stronger. Would you like to comment on that?
Yeah. I mean, it just showed us that we both can, work together and understand what we're going through, and we know that helped us, with other things, but it will get done. Things will happen. You can't just get angry and get mad, or call you every day and you have no updates. It's there's no need. It's just when you hear words, it's just you will hear something
eventually. And what did sorry, Kaylee, did you want to add anything to that before I keep talking? And with that, I know I like how you said that you work together as a team, and I think that that's kind of something that I wanted to throw out too as some advice, is just when you start at the beginning of the process, I think it's key to remember that you're on the same team. You're going through this together, because the stress of that immigration case is pretty intense, right? And all of the things that can come up, all of the unexpected things, and you don't have necessarily immigration in front of you to be able to, like a live person necessarily, to be able to say, hey, this is how it's impacting my life. Can you make a decision already? And so both of you just did a really great job of remembering that you're a team. Because I know that stress you can kind of end up projecting at each other. And I never, ever saw either of you doing that. I always saw you showing up as a team. So I think it's really beautiful that you mentioned that. And it's great for couples who are starting out on their journey to remember that as well. And how did you, in your day-to-day life, I know sometimes that immigration case can become all-consuming. Like you were saying, you were checking every day. And I know I did that too when my husband and I were going through it. You just can't help. You just want to just check, maybe today, and then one day it will, right? But during that process, you both focused on your relationship. Like, you didn't let it really consume you. So did you have any specific strategies, or how did you do that? How did you make that happen? Asking the hard
Um,
questions today,
I
right?
it's
I think it helped. So it took us. We started in 2018, and we had your interview in 2022. So that was 4 years,
4 years.
right? So
Mhm.
almost 4 years, like 3.5. But it was. I mean, we just didn't know. Like, you could go on for 5+ years. You really don't know,
Mhm.
right? So we're like, well, it's already been a few years. Like, yeah, I'm gonna start checking when it's been a while. But I mean, life still has to go on. You still have everyday life, and you can't like let your relationship take a back seat
Mhm.
to the immigration process.
Yeah. And Jorge, did you have anything you wanted to add?
No, I think she kind of hit all the points. I mean, we just, I mean, I still went to work. Fortunately, they weren't able to take DACA away. The
Mhm.
ones that had it, they kept it. So fortunately, I still had it, and I was able to work and continue doing what I did. And me and her still, we kind of, we knew it was going to be a long process, especially with COVID. So we
Hmm.
kind of put it, when you contacted us or needed something, it's the first thing we would do, and then
Mhm.
we'd wait to hear back, or we'd look
Yeah.
occasionally and be like, hey, have we heard anything or update? But we wouldn't let it consume us every day.
Hmm.
Being with family, obviously family and friends, spending time with them, that's it gets, you have so many things you do with them and other people. So yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, you both did a great job of that throughout the whole process, and I think what was key for both of you is that you focused on you both have a really great family unit, but you focused on the future a lot. I'd always, whenever I talked with both of you, you were always telling me what had happened and what your plans were and what was to come. And so I think, like you're saying, not letting your relationship take the back seat, and to keep dreaming and to keep thinking about what comes next. Sure, that immigration case is there, and you both let it just be there, but you were very focused on your relationship. Yeah, you never let it take a backseat. So I think that's so beautiful, and it really has. I mean, that's a long time. Like, you say it, and I know you've said it's a long time, but from 2018 to 2022, you had a lot of different steps, and we even changed course and changed strategy as laws and policies changed during the process. And you both were just had so much grace and patience for the process. And like you said, Jorge, you'll get to the end. You knew you would. You just had to keep focusing on that.
Yeah.
um is there anything else that you think couples should know about the immigration process? And you've shared a lot of really valuable tips, but I want to give you an opportunity if there's anything else you think is important for couples to know.
Um, I think one of the biggest ones that you gave us help with was, you knew that so I'm Mexican, so I'm from Mexico. You knew that the Mexican consulate or the Mexican government paid for some of the fees,
Mhm.
which is, I had no one that I've talked to that, from my family knew even that was a thing. They knew that was a thing. Even for DACA recipients, having I guess, a lawyer that, or maybe Googling or doing some research on it, if your government were to help you pay for some of these legal or some of the government fees. Sorry.
Yeah, from the USCIS fees.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, yeah. Because that's really helpful. Was there anything else you wanted to add, Kaylee?
I think the big thing, it sounds silly, but keep a folder organized of everything that you've gotten for the lawyers so far, all the new things that you're adding, so it's easily accessible. Because sometimes, you know, you have to pivot, and there's more documents that are needed and more evidence, and it's just easy to have everything organized together. You know exactly where it's at. You have a like folder on your computer, like Dropbox, whatever it is. Like, I'm an
Mhm.
organized, I try to be organized, and that helped me a lot, like, through the process.
Yeah.
Because I just knew where everything was, and whenever you guys needed something, like, I just quickly went and grabbed it and could send it to you, because obviously you guys want to get it, the immigration process done for us. We want to be done with it, so as quick
Yeah.
as you can get documents in and change, the quicker you know, you can get your citizenship and stuff.
Yeah, I don't think that sounds silly at all. I think that's a brilliant piece of advice, and I think for anybody, even if you're not going through an immigration process, I think that's very solid advice to have a folder with all of your important documents. Because how many times in life do we need those things, and then we're having to dig? And I did always appreciate that whenever our team would reach out to you, you were on it, you have it, because both of you knew immigration, their document list and the things that they would need is constantly kind of in flux, and it can depend. And you both know how many times they will ask for the same thing.
Oh yeah, especially when like he went to his interview. Like I remember we knew where everything was. Like we had all of our stuff ready to go in a big folder. I mean, we didn't need most of it, but we had extra stuff. So like when you go to interviews and stuff, bring extra.
Yeah.
Like even if you don't think you'll need it, bring it, because I feel like it's better to have it and not need it than need it and not have it.
Agree. Yeah, definitely. And I know immigration officers will even say, I know you probably submitted this, but the files are huge and they scan some of it in and I can't find it. So if you have it, it'll make it easier. So I agree. That's a good piece of advice. And with that immigration interview, I know that's a really intimidating part of the immigration case, that you both, you know, you have to go in front of this immigration officer and answer questions about your relationship. How was that experience for both of you?
I think I didn't sleep the night before, right?
We did so much prepping, like even down to the like I pay all of our bills. Like I do all of that. Like we were even going through like who all of our like utilities are through and stuff like that. Like before we went into the interview, like we were sitting outside and I was going through stuff with him, and I ended up, they didn't let me go back, so he went back, well, with you obviously.
Yeah.
He'll have to talk about the interview part.
Yeah, it was a little terrifying. I was nervous at first, but we had a really nice agent. She was really, really nice, and she was understanding.
And I think having your lawyer,
oh yeah,
know everybody there helps as well. Because I remember we were going through security, and like even the security guard like knew who you were, and everybody was like saying hi and talking to you. So get a good lawyer.
I'm a chatty Cathy. I can talk paint off a wall, so I meet everybody. I make friends everywhere.
That's good. That's a good quality for sure.
Yeah. And that's for your interview. I'm glad you had a nice officer, and I know I prepared both of you for other possibilities of different scenarios and different personalities, because they are human beings after all. But I think, that both of you, took my advice, and that you practiced and went through all of those details and were prepared is really key. Yeah. All right. Well, if there's anything else you'd like to share, I think we've covered a lot. I think this will be very helpful for couples. So thank you both so much for your time. I'm so grateful. And I know everyone who's listening is going to be extremely grateful too, whether they're just starting out or in the middle of their immigration journey. I think the biggest way I would sum up the advice you've given today would be, Kaylee, like you said, just be prepared, patient, flexible. Don't let your relationship take the back seat. And like Jorge, I think you had said, basically, it takes a long time, but just keep remembering you will get to the finish line. It will happen. Don't ruminate on it. It'll happen when it happens, and just keep taking care of yourselves and each other, right? So I think those are the biggest things that you've shared with us today. And I think it's just absolute gold. So thank you so much again for your time. It's been an absolute pleasure having a conversation with both of you.
Yeah. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
All right. Take care. Thanks for watching, everyone.